Howdy, 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 my name is Tanashi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read the Parasitic Toothpick, the Aggressive Cable, Wonder Bread, IP address 5732 blah blah, and Stick Blob. And they were all Euclid. They were just a bunch of Euclid household items that are strange. This one we're going to be reading The Vessel in the Gate, Pet Rocks, Smoky Cigars, Lucky Jeans, and Time Keeps on Slipping, Slipping, Slipping into the Future. If it's not about time slipping into the future, I'm going to be disappointed. But, let's see. I'm sorry? The Vessel and the Gate. I had 5 straight Euclids and then an immediate Keter. Okay. I wonder if it's going to be an uncomfortable Keter. Because the last time I got a Keter that was a plane or a boat or something, it made my skin crawl. Anyway. SCP-616 is to be kept in sight redacted. While grounded, repair personnel of a clearance level of 2 or above are allowed to enter the craft, and must conduct thorough pre-flight inspections to ascertain that SCP-616 is ready for flight. However, repair personnel are to maintain a distance of at least 3 meters from SCP-616-1. On flight days, only ordained and believing ministers of an Abrahamic faith with security clearance of level 4 or above may enter the aircraft, and must remain at least 3 foot 1 inch from the threshold of 1 at all times whilst the craft is grounded. 1 should be kept from closing at all costs once activated. This necessitates a monthly manned flight. Failure to keep 1 from closing will require initiation of Procedure 600 Shokai. Each flight, 7 archbishops ordained and believing in an Abrahamic faith must surround 1. Prayer directed at 1 is to be sustained during the whole duration of the flight, usually 3 to 7 hours. Prayer must be sustained by all able subjects, but once 1 has activated, previously established distance restrictions no longer apply. Subjects are in fact encouraged to try to physically stop 1 from closing, though extreme caution must be taken to keep any personnel from falling through the threshold, as that will likely result in data expunged. In addition, 1 Foundation agent trained in flying commercial aircraft is to pilot 616 through a pre-designated flight path and must be able to maintain radio contact and information of events in SCP-616. Under no circumstances is the pilot cleared to approach 1 once the flight has begun. All personnel should be supplied with any religious paraphernalia they request before flight time. No extraneous personnel are to be present during flight for any reason, as they will likely be killed by 616's activation and provide corpses for reanimation or data expunged. The Roman Catholic Pope, or a similar Abrahamic religious figure, must bless the aircraft in accordance with the appropriate religious ceremony once per full year. The official must report to the Foundation and arrive physically at the containment site at least 3 days prior to the year elapsing. Failure to do so may result in the door opening, resulting in data expunged. In the unlikely event that any official misses the ceremony, a substitute of equal rank must be on hand to replace him or her. Furthermore, 2 blank nuclear devices with a combined yield of blank megatons are to be armed inside the aircraft at all times. In the event of an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario, or if the door closes during flight, resulting in data expunged, or transfers hostile beings in large numbers, these devices are to be detonated if Procedure 600 Shokai cannot be activated. Those with clearance 4 or higher, please see document SCP-616 CP3. Description: SCP-616 is a prototype Boeing blank blank designed by blank blank and constructed in June 16th, 1966 to specifications, which the date would be 6/16/66. Though superficially similar to the Boeing 737, which went into service shortly afterwards, 616's model had various internal alterations, including data expunged. Despite the various alterations, the most important feature of 616 is the center-left emergency door, which has been dubbed 1. 616-1 is a standard emergency door, though partially covered in extensive markings associated with satanic cults adhering to Redacted. 1 can be opened without major incident when grounded and leads to the outside of the aircraft as expected. However, this is discouraged as nearly all personnel opening and or passing through the door have reported severe anxiety problems and a persistent feeling of being watched. Long-term observation or exposure to 616 is not recommended. Observation using any sort of electronic device is satisfactory while 616 is grounded, though some visual anomalies have been recorded, including data expunged. As such, it is advised that personnel known to have a high tolerance to disturbing imagery be assigned to observation duty and work no longer than 3 consecutive days. All personnel involved in the repairs, observation, operation, or flight of 616 must submit to psychological evaluations after each period of exposure. One will autonomously open once every 30 days and begin to close. This event can be considered the activation of one. The speed at which one closes is highly dependent on 616's altitude, velocity, and data expunged. It should be timed so that one opens in mid-flight at an altitude of approximately 10,972 meters and a speed of about 780 kilometers per hour. Failure to properly time this event is catastrophic, since one closing fully while grounded could affect all life forms within an unknown radius, causing potentially hundreds of data expunged, posing severe threats to population centers and requiring immediate use of Procedure 600 Shokai. Please see document SCP-616-DE2 for further information on data expunged and effective means of termination. Once one spontaneously opens, cabin pressure will destabilize as expected, and extreme turbulence is encountered. At various points during the flight, all present personnel may feel as if 616 is quickly falling, though it has been ascertained that 616 remains in relatively stable cruising conditions during all times, including during the times of these events. One's opening may cause certain individuals present to suffer fatal heart attacks or data expunged. Corpses with an undamaged larynx present within 616 once one activates seemingly reanimate for the duration of the flight. The corpses remain largely immobile and as such pose no physical threat, but are capable of speech. These speaking corpses should be terminated if possible, as their speech poses potential psychological dangers, as well as enable one's closing via data expunged. The language spoken by these reanimated corpses remains unidentified. Addendum 1. The airliner series never went into service, as the various anomalous events surrounding 616's test flights were reported as various design failures. All plans and blueprints have been seized by the Foundation. It is now believed Blank's designs were entirely intentional and done under no external compulsion. Recovered documents from the construction process describe data expunged. Addendum 2. On a remote-controlled rover obtained footage from within one. All personnel who viewed this footage directly committed suicide by various means within a 2-month period. A security tape of the video with the recording playing did not cause any death, despite containing full sound and color recordings of the footage. It displayed a video of a small child violently being data expunged within a dark red room. All further attempts to observe past the event horizon have yielded similar results, and such expeditions are no longer permitted. Addendum 3. Interview logs pertaining to 616 are available in document Interview 616-AM. Document 616 CP3. Clearance level 4 or higher required. Though the current containment procedures specify the necessity of Abrahamic faith and prayer to keep one from closing, this necessity is in fact fabricated. After various interviews with redacted, a single test run, and data expunged, it was determined that the belief in one's ability to keep one open was ultimately the critical component to being able to accomplish the deed. However, it seems individuals in possession of this fact fare worse than individuals who were not at keeping one open. Whether this is due to properties of one or human psychology is unknown. In regards to this problem, Dr. Blank suggested using religion as an abundant and efficient way to harness belief. The current satanic markings were in fact added by the Foundation. The requirement of an Abrahamic leader's blessing, as well as using ordained Abrahamic preachers for the act itself, are all for the benefit of maintaining morale and reinforcing belief. This method has proved successful, as each flight since the first has had fewer casualties and a shorter duration. So let's check out, let's see how long that interview log is. I wonder how many okay, so. Partial log of interview A. Subject was only surviving passenger aboard the flight that brought 616 to the Foundation's attention. Do you want some water before we continue, or perhaps something to eat? I know you've had a long day. I keep a few snacks here on my desk if you'd like something. No, nothing. Alright, go on then. What happened during takeoff? Nothing at first. Everyone was excited, you know. Blank promised us we'd be able to witness data expunged at last, and we believed him. Then Blank stood up, and we all started singing, and everyone was cheering with excitement when the door flung open. And then it started. Go on, be specific. The screaming started. It was just sort of normal at first. The oxygen mask dropped down as the air started rushing out, and everything started swaying. The lights went out just then, but it wasn't dark. There was light coming from the outside, from the door. I see, but I understand the flight took place at midnight. No, it wasn't natural light. It was this haze of red, mostly colors, but they weren't colors. Everyone started screaming for real when a bunch of people started bleeding and going limp, but they started speaking in unison. They were the chosen, but I wasn't among them. Subject covers his face with his hands. I don't know what they were saying. They were chanting it, but people were still screaming. I was screaming, and Blank was yelling something at the open door, and then George Blank got up, walked up to the door, and he jumped. He jumped out of the airplane. No! Not out of the airplane. There wasn't an outside anymore. It was paradise. What Blank had been talking about, just like he said. That's when the angel came. I couldn't see very well. I was in the far back, but suddenly lots of people got up and the screaming mostly stopped, and the chanting got louder, and Blank was still yelling something. And then more angels came. Angels everywhere. Angels, and they ripped and ripped and ripped and harvested, but the harvested kept speaking, kept chanting just like Blank said, and there were hands. So many hands pushing me towards the door, and an angel ripping, harvesting around me, and I wanted to get away. I ran towards the door, but... Subject is seen breathing heavily. Take it easy, Redacted. What happened then? I don't know. When I woke up, I was like this. Motions towards legs. Both have been nearly severed at the knees. You don't remember anything else. We know why the door didn't close all the way, but do you remember perhaps how the plane managed to land safely, or what became of Blank? Blank is in paradise with data expunged. I didn't see it when he went in, but everything was just like he said. He was right. He was right about everything. But what about the plane? Nothing in our testing seems to indicate the plane is capable of landing on its own. Blank was a Boeing engineer, right? Would he have been capable of landing the aircraft? Blank is capable of everything! He opened the door to paradise. He'll come back for me one day. I know he will. One day when I'm worthy, he will. Partial log of interview M. Subject was on board on the Foundation's 5th manned flight of 616, in the first flight with no occurrence of data expunged. Dr. Sanders. Very well, Father. Please continue. I hadn't so much as done an exorcism before, you know. I mean, I believed in evil, and I knew what must be done. It must exist, but I never thought. What happened after the door opened? We kept praying. I had my eyes closed. I was terrified of being sucked out. I felt the fires, the heat, and sulfur of hell. The heat was immediate, the smoke almost suffocating. Father Redacted clutched his chest and fell over, and I almost went down to see if he was okay, but I knew I had to just keep praying. The plane started shaking, and I could barely stand up. We were all just standing there, praying so hard. What did you see inside the door? Nothing. It was just blackness. But there was this sort of light that spilled out, or maybe more like glowing smoke. It's hard to describe. What happened then? Well, Father Redacted started speaking. That's really when I knew everything your people had told me was true. His dead body was possessed. It was speaking in tongues. We just kept standing there praying we were right, but that everything you told us was true, and that we could keep this door from closing, but it looked like the door was still closing slowly, and we didn't know how long we were supposed to last. That was when Bishop Redacted walked up to the door and started pushing it back. It worked, we all joined him. Did that stop the door from closing further? Just for a bit, yeah. But then it started closing again, and we kept pushing back and praying, but it was hard. I was afraid I was going to fall out. The plane was shaking so much and the lights flickered, and Father Redacted was still there on the floor looking up at us with cold eyes, chatting some hellish tongue. I'm told the whole thing lasted 4 hours, but it felt like forever. I don't remember it much except the falling. Near the end it felt like the plane was crashing. I thought we were all going down, but that was the end. It's like when you're going down in a really fast elevator, but worse. Everything was shaking, and I felt this abyss below me open up, and we were all praying, and I was pushing against the door so hard my hands were bleeding. Then it all stopped, just like that. Bishop Redacted fell out through the door, out into the real sky. I think he must have been exhausted, a man of his age. He saw the clouds and just smiled and stopped holding on for a second and just fell. Nothing we could do. We heard the pilot telling us through the PA that we could close the door now, and to take a seat and put the oxygen mask until we landed. Well then, that brings us on to Pet Rocks. I was about to say, oh jeez, what? I was about to say these better not be Keter too, but I just, Whew, wow. Okay, they're Euclid. 617 is to be kept in a soundproof container at all times. When in storage, 617 must be kept in its soundproof containment cell, and its mouth kept zipped at all times except for experiments and scheduled feeding periods. All personnel entering 617's containment area must wear hearing protection devices as a precautionary measure. 617 cannot be taken from its containment cell without approval from a level 4 researcher and must always be kept within its secure container when being moved. In the event of a containment breach, it must be retrieved by personnel with proper hearing protection. The entire sector must be locked down and all personnel thoroughly searched until 617 is contained. So, SCP-617 has the appearance of a large granite rock, except that it possesses a zipper in its side that is fully operational. When unzipped, 617 is shown to possess a mouth with teeth that appear similar in appearance and construction to human teeth. X-ray and MRI scans of 617 appear to be unable to penetrate its stone exterior. Similar tests to try and probe 617's internal systems have likewise proven inconclusive. Its mouth is fully functional and can vocalize sounds as well as be used to consume food. It is also capable of limited movement, being able to roll around under its own power. However, 617's most disturbing aspects are its parasitical tendencies as well as its ability to influence human behavior. In addition to being able to speak, it can generate a low-frequency sound that allows it to exert subliminal control over any human that hears it. Humans affected by 617 will become emotionally attached to it, treating it as a pet and actively caring for it to the best of their ability. As long as they are affected by 617, victims will make its care a priority, giving it a home, protecting it from danger, and most importantly, making sure it is well fed. 617 has an active digestive system and sustains itself on a diet primarily consisting of fresh meat. Since it's unable to obtain food on its own, it persuades its owner to gather food. The owner will then resort to any means to feed 617. Recorded instances have shown that owners are willing to slaughter livestock and other pets to feed 617, and will even resort to murdering other human beings. In times of desperation, it is not uncommon for the owner to feed parts of themselves to 617. The violent and unpredictable behavior exhibited by owners while obtaining food is believed to be a side effect of its subliminal manipulation, which directly affects areas of the brain believed responsible for rational thought. On some occasions, 617 will actually begin to devour its owner while they are asleep. The owner will either not notice the attack or simply show no alarm when it is discovered, continuing to care for 617 as if this behavior were perfectly normal. However, once the owner is separated from the low-frequency sound 617 produces, they will eventually begin to recover from its effects, though victims are still vulnerable to relapse if exposed again. Further research has shown that zipping up 617 completely neutralizes its ability to produce any sound. However, it still requires feeding and is still capable of limited movement, being able to slowly roll itself along even ground. It is also sapient, possessing average intelligence and capable of human speech. However, in all attempts to communicate, it is incapable or unwilling to discuss anything further than basic conversation. It will, however, state its desire to feed and attempt to persuade any individuals within earshot to care for it. As such, a standard IQ test is impossible to carry out. The Foundation was made aware of 617's existence after a series of serial murders began exhibiting a pattern to the effect that all of the victims were partially devoured. The Foundation involved itself in the investigation and managed to track the suspect, blank blank, to his home. During the operation, see After Action Report 617, 617's persuasive powers were discovered and it was successfully contained. And here's that After Action Report it literally just mentioned. Agent Blank was sent to apprehend blank blank for possible SCP possession, however all contact was lost. A Foundation armed response team was sent to investigate. They discovered that Agent Blank had become hostile and initiated a confrontation. Both Agent Blank and Blank Blank were killed in the ensuing gunfight, with the response team suffering 3 wounded. At this point, a psychic or mimetic factor was suspected, and the response team was ordered to stay back and form a defensive perimeter. Remote probing of the area revealed an anomalous, low-frequency sound being generated. Disposable dudes with hearing protection were able to recover 617 and successfully contain it. Forensic analysis of Blank Blank's home revealed that he had been in possession of 617 for at least 6 months. During that period, he had systematically fed his entire collection of pets to 617, slowly cutting them apart while they were still alive. When he had run out of pets, he moved on to humans, starting the string of serial murders that were initially investigated. An autopsy revealed a number of human bite marks on his body, with 2 fingers, 6 toes, and roughly 6 ounces of flesh missing. Dental analysis showed that the bite marks were a perfect match for the 617's teeth. Autopsies of the murder victims corroborated 617's capabilities. At this time, it is unknown how long 617 has existed, and it used to say or whether there are more instances of it, but now it says there must be expanded emphasis on analyzing serial murder cases that involve cannibalization of corpses, as well as similar sociopathic behaviors. Addendum 1. Since the acquisition of 617, 2 more instances of it were discovered and contained. The Foundation now has 1, 2, and 3 in containment. All 3 have been put in the same cell in order to observe patterns such as reproduction, communication, and competition. Administrative note. In light of recent events, all testing with 617 is restricted to human test subjects and non-sapient life forms only. Wonder what that recent event was. I don't want to look at it again though, because it's freaky looking. Now it's time for smoky cigars, which are safe. It's been a while since we had something safe. Probably hasn't really been that long. All instances of 618 are kept in individual airtight containers with a larger climate-controlled humidor. Humidor? It's a humidor. Okay, it's just a cigar case. The climate control system for the humidor has been adapted to collect all products of 618 and store them in pressurized tanks. All personnel who interact with 618 are to wear Level A Type 1 hazardous material protective suits. In the event of accidental exposure to the byproducts of 618, personnel are authorized to request termination prior to the onset of anomalous effects. Description: 618 is a collection of 37, originally 50, Parejo-style cigars without brand identification. 618 instances continually exude a colorless gas, containing several volatile aromatics, which give it a characteristic smell of burning or smokiness. This gas additionally contains several previously unknown compounds, and it says, analysis of the unknown compounds have revealed that they are similar in composition to the compounds found in the smoke that is emitted from SCP-13, I'll get back to that, which act as mild hallucinogens and opiates while in gaseous form. Although there is no detectable anomalous compulsion to smoke 618, the pleasant addictive compounds they exude tends to influence those directly exposed to them, with the end result that the affected individuals are more likely to want to consume 618. Once lit, the smoke produced by 618 contains greater amounts of the abnormal compounds found in the original gas, as well as a highly allergenic compound. At concentrations greater than 100 ppm, this allergen produces hives, blisters, and weeping rashes on all living mammalian dermal tissue within 30 seconds after making contact. If left untreated, these will rapidly develop into open skin lesions as the dermal tissue necrotizes. Exposed nerve endings are anesthetized by the opiates found in the smoke, which reduces the likelihood that affected organisms will notice the damage. If left exposed to 618 smoke for longer than 30 minutes, firm subdermal cysts will develop at affected areas and major joints. These cysts contain a pressurized fluid-air mixture consisting of blood plasma and concentrated 618 smoke. Once the cysts begin to form, it will continue to grow with increasing internal pressure until it ruptures. Upon rupture, the expelled smoke retains the anomalous properties of the original smoke and may affect other portions of the host organism or nearby organisms. The expelled blood plasma has similar properties to the smoke and is able to transmit the effects on contact for up to 17 days after it has dried. Experiments using laboratory mice indicated that after introducing a single affected individual into an otherwise normal population in a well-ventilated area, it would be possible to produce a chain reaction that results into approximately a little bit less than, or I guess greater than 90% of all organisms becoming exposed within 24 hours. Now what is 13 again? A collection of, the collective designation of 242 cigarettes, Blue Lady. They begin to perceive themselves as specific, unidentified women between 25 to 35. Okay. Okie dokie. So it's the same kind of smoke even though it does a different thing. That's weird. Lucky Jeans. Safe impetus? The hell does that mean? What is that? Special containment procedures. 619 is currently housed in storage locker 5A2 at Site 21. Currently, currency retrieved from 619 is to be kept in storage locker A3. Testing on 619 has been suspended. The right pocket has been stapled shut. Should testing on 619 be reinstated, access archive document 619T for testing procedures. 619 is a pair of faded Levi brand stonewashed jeans manufactured in 1994 with several stains and tears through apparent use. The item shows no unusual physical properties, however it does not correspond to any style of jeans produced by the Levi Strauss & Co. Whenever a person puts their hand into 619's right pocket, turning the pocket inside out or removing it from 619 negates its anomalous properties. Damage to 619 may be repaired with conventional materials without altering its anomalous properties. The pocket will contain 2 US dollar bills and between 2 and 5 US dimes. All pieces of currency retrieved this way have been marked as being printed or minted between the years 1969 and 2018. Requests to induce a change to US currency to test this potential temporal anomaly have been denied. This must have been updated lately, or recently, since it's only been 2018 for 6 months. And show varying amounts of wear and tear. For bills printed before the present day, serial numbers have been matched with those of bills that should have been circulated. Due to the frequency with which currency is lost or ignored, the source of currency retrieved from SCP-19 is unknown. and approximately 4% of all trials in which currency is removed from 619, an activated dye pack will be tied to one of the bills with twine. The explosion, which produces temperatures in excess of 400 degrees Celsius and releases dispersed red 9 dye, may burn the subject and has caused damage to 619 on several occasions. In addition, an additional 6% of all trials, a lit match will be present. The manufacturer of both the dye packs and matches varies. So that's a 4% of trials, so sometimes it's not lucky. After the first 2 weeks of testing 619, in which 407 trials were run, 53% of all retrieved bills had the words "stop," "please," "why," or "no" written across their surface. Could either be "no" or "on." Analysis has shown the words to be written in a optically variable ink. The size and handwriting of the letters is suggestive of very limited expertise. On trial 588, a single $20 bill was retrieved. In contrast to previous bills on which writing was found, the writing on this bill was small and legible and spanned multiple sentences. It is reprinted here in its entirety. "We surrender. You've taken the whole village, and now people from other cracks and other couches are pulled out. Whole families. If it's revenge for the dye packs and matches, you have to understand that we don't have other ways of stopping you. We don't like hurting you, but we're scared and it's all we have. We gave them to as many as we could in case you try to have us spent. Just tell us what you want and we'll give it to you. Think of the coins. Do you want humans? We could get you 3 whole heads. We could even pull together all the fingers and toes left over or open up the graves if you want. Non-sequential, unrelated DNA, no questions. Just send a $20 bill and talk to our other $20 bill and we can make it work. I don't know if you care at all, but all we want is for you to stop." Another 8 trials revealed the absence of any further writing. Special containment procedures have been revised, testing on 619 is suspended. So it sounds like the money coming out of the pants is coming from some sort of dimension where the money is all sentient, and every time they were taking money out of the pants, they were taking people's families and they were trying to stop them. So it's not so much that they're lucky pants, it's that it sounds like the pants have extra dimensional capabilities that suck for everyone involved. Ecto-entropic. I still don't really know what safe impetus means, or impetus. But that brings us to time, keeps on slipping. It's safe, and it's a clock. Looking at the above image for upwards of 10 minutes is not encouraged. Okay. SCP-620 is not considered a direct hazard as such. It used to say it is currently located at Site Blank's accounting department. It now says its containment procedures exist to create an environment where researchers can study its effects without being exposed to them. SCP-620 is to be mounted in a large 2-way mirror separating an observation area from the testing area. It is to be attached to the mirror by suction cup mounts. In the event of suction cup failure, the testing area must be evacuated until 620 can be remounted. Research personnel may remount the object, as brief exposure is not considered dangerous. I mean, why don't they put it up there with something more stable than suction cups if that's the kind of danger of the suction cup failing? Like staple the suction cups to the wall or something. I don't know. 620 is currently connected directly to Site Blank's power supply following Incident 620 Blank. Any signs of wires needing repair must be reported to Site Blank maintenance staff immediately. 620 is an analog clock of unknown make and model. It bears no markings indicating a manufacturer or place of origin. Its face is styled after the yellow smiley face design. Kinda reminds me of the Watchman button thing. When 620 is powered, all subjects observing its face experience perceived time acceleration. Constant observation is not required. Occasional glances will induce the perceived acceleration as quickly as constant observation. Upon the conclusion of a testing session, subjects were asked to gauge how much time they thought they had spent testing. All underreported time spent testing by a factor proportional to time spent exposed to 620. Subjects exposed to 620 for under 5 minutes were no less accurate at measuring time than a control group. However, as exposure length increases, inaccuracy rises proportionately. Most subjects experience its effects to be pleasurable, and then it said, so 620 has been mounted on the wall in Site Blank's accounting department to increase morale. As of Incident 620 Blank, indiscriminate exposure to the object is no longer permitted, and the object has thus been relocated to a specialized research area. Looks like we're not going to get to find out what happened there. But, the perceived time acceleration only persists as long as the object remains functional. If 620 loses power or its hand ceases to move for any reason, all subjects exposed to it will experience time dilation in equal proportion to the time acceleration perceived when it is functional. All subjects, especially those previously perceiving time acceleration, find the time dilation uncomfortable, and after prolonged exposure, it becomes unbearable for most test subjects. 620 consumes battery charge at varying and unpredictable levels, causing it to lose power with little warning. As such, it currently draws power directly from Sightblank's power supply. Prolonged exposure to the object in either state is unsafe. After 24 continuous hours of exposure, subjects have in the past begun to reject food regardless of hunger, frequently stating that they just ate, regardless of how much actual time has passed since the subject has eaten. Subjects become overconfident in their recollection, claiming to remember things as if they were yesterday, but with no measurable increase in recall. Subjects who became aware of how quickly they perceive time to be passing have become chronically depressed, believing their death to be imminent. Subjects exposed to a stopped phase for prolonged periods quickly became extremely bored, often pleading with researchers through the mirror for the test to end. It is important to remember that 620 has no effect whatsoever on the actual flow of time as far as Foundation equipment can detect. The acceleration and dilation are completely psychosomatic. Subjects who do not know what an analog clock is or how to read one are unaffected by 620. Which says to me that in the future, when there aren't analog clocks anymore, 620 is not even going to be dangerous anymore. Which is probably why it's rated safe. Also the fact that it's a clock and you can save yourself by simply ignoring its existence. So, that about does it for this episode. In the next one, we're going to be starting with Hypnobulbs, and move on to Desert in a Can, One Groovy Room, Personal Music Player, and Ankle Biters. So, this has been Anachi Sasuke. This was episode 133 of Let's Read the SP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.